The beginning of a Russian counteroffensive against Ukrainian troops who seized a swath of Russia's Kursk region last month has turned the spotlight back on Kyiv and the objectives of its audacious invasion. The operation, which was the first major foreign incursion into Russian territory since the Second World War, was always a gamble. But there has so far been little success for Ukraine in its aim of forcing Moscow to divert substantial forces away from the country's east. Russia has stepped up the pressure within Ukraine, particularly around the importance of Pokrovsk. Newly released footage, it said, showed the extent of the battle. Ukrainian forces repulsed a large-scale Russian offensive in the direction of Pokrovsk. A unit of the Ukrainian brigade successfully stopped the assault of Russian troops in the Pokrovsk direction. When Russian troops large columns to the positions of the Ukrainian, operators' drones managed to detect the Russian troops in a timely manner. Then, the drone units began active raids on enemy equipment. FPV drones destroyed Russian vehicles that attempted to approach at high speed, and bombs. Flames were seen billowing into the air after the attack, and the fate of the Russian armored crew remains in question. Thanks to the successful actions of operators' drones of the Ukrainian military, the Russian assault was stopped due to significant losses in armored vehicles. In new cases in Frontline reveals a new sight worthy of laughter on the front lines. A drunk Russian soldier finds himself the center of attention among his comrades. In the drone footage, he is loaded onto a motorbike being evacuated from the battlefield. His comrades awkwardly try to hold his body on the motorbike seat so as not to drop him. But they are unaware that a Ukrainian fighter drone captured the moment. In another brutal attack, Ukrainian forces using an FPV drone in a masterful manner destroyed the Russian OSA air defense system in the front line. The operation began with a drone, which closely monitored the Russian armored, shows the anti-aircraft missile system changing position, moving along a dirt road by a forest. The Ukrainian FPV drone operator, having received precise coordinates, decided to attack, and bombs. The Ukrainian FPV drone struck its rear, delivering a precise blow. A powerful explosion was heard, and the Russian OSA air defense system caught fire. However, despite the damage, the complex continued to move. The burning air defense system was speeding toward the private sector at full speed, leaving a trail of thick smoke. The fire spread quickly, engulfing the vehicle from the inside. Meanwhile, as reported by Reuters, Ukrainian troops are suffering high losses because Western arms are arriving too slowly to equip the armed forces properly, President Volodymyr Zelensky said in an interview aired on Sunday. Russia has been gaining ground in parts of eastern Ukraine, including around Pokrovsk. The capture of the transport hub could enable Moscow to open new lines of attack. Zelensky said the situation in the east was very tough, adding that half of Ukraine's brigades there were not equipped. So you lose a lot of people. You lose people because they are not in armed vehicles. They don't have artillery. They don't have artillery rounds, said Zelensky. Zelensky said weapons aid packages promised by the United States and European nations were arriving very slowly. We need 14 brigades to be ready. Until now, from these packages, we didn't equip even 4, he said. White House National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan on Saturday said Washington was working on a substantial new aid package for Ukraine. Zelensky is due to meet with U.S. President Joe Biden and will present a plan for ending the war. The main elements are security and diplomatic support, as well as military and economic aid, he said. The only thing Russian President Vladimir Putin fears is the reaction of his people if the cost of the war makes them suffer, Zelensky said. Make Ukraine strong, and you will see that he will sit and negotiate. Zelensky will also reiterate Biden demands for Ukraine to be allowed to use U.S. long-range weapons to strike military targets deep into Russia. Kyiv needs this permission because Russian jets blasting infrastructure had begun operating up to 310 miles from the front lines, compared with 150 kilometers earlier, he said. Besides, Ukraine's armed forces have received 18 domestically made Bodana self-propelled, mounted howitzer units, funded by Denmark, marking a new chapter in NATO-aligned defense cooperation amid the ongoing war with Russia. The announcement was made by Danish Defense Minister Troels Lund Poulsen during the 20th Yalta European Strategy meeting in Kyiv on September 14th. Denmark's contribution represents a first-of-its-kind agreement, as the European nation has become the first in the EU to finance the direct purchase of Ukrainian-manufactured military equipment for Kyiv's defense forces. The weapons were produced rapidly, with the order placed in July and the units delivered just 2 months later.